There's a sign-in sheet. Oh, in the back table. On the back table. Okay, on your way out. Please sign. Please sign. And then what we really want to do is we want to see who is in the audience, because we figure that you're here because you are really interested in apprenticeships. You've either started to work on apprenticeships, you've heard about apprenticeships, you want apprenticeships. So how many of you are from a Smart Start agency? How many of you are from a CCR&R? How many of you are from a school district? How many of you are from NCPC? Okay, that gives us a little bit of a plan of who's here. So I am going to be able to move us on. We have a number of presenters today, and I'm going to start with some brief introductions. You'll see that we have a few different pieces, so we're going to do this in sections, if that's okay. And I'm going to start really by saying that Caroline Sullivan, who is the Executive Director of the North Carolina Business Committee for Education, had hoped to be here today. Unfortunately, she's not here. We have great representation. And so I'm going to begin to introduce Morgan Ford. Morgan is the Program Director for Building Bright Futures with the North Carolina Business Committee for Education. She leads this statewide initiative to support early childhood apprenticeships with the goal of increasing and elevating this critical workforce in North Carolina. Morgan collaborates with state and local partners to recruit participants and share experiences among stakeholders. She manages funding, guidance, and resources for pilot programs. And in addition, she creates and she really facilitates enrichment and professional development activities for participants, something that's a new piece for apprenticeships. I'm also going to introduce Megan Johnson. Megan Johnson is the Program Manager for Building Bright Futures, and she's working really closely with Morgan. She's an experienced educator. She's bringing her experience and her passion to support early childhood educators. She supports the program development and design, partner collaboration, and marketing efforts for Building Bright Futures to increase the number of early childhood education apprenticeships throughout the state. I will introduce the others. We're going to do this in sequence. And I want to introduce myself. I'm Marcia Baslow. I'm the facilitator for this session. We're going to start with the goals. We want you to learn about the North Carolina Business Committee on Education and its new apprenticeship. We want you to learn about Apprenticeship NC. You'll get to learn a whole host of pieces around that. We're going to understand CTE. I'll let you learn what CTE is and pre-apprenticeships, and we're going to see the collaborative efforts on behalf of the early childhood workforce. I am going to turn it over to Morgan.
Hi everyone, I have one more question. Oh, that's right. Hello. I have one more question. Raise your hand if you are here from outside of North Carolina. 2 people. And everyone else here is someone who works in North Carolina. Okay, well good, that's exciting. Okay. Well, I just wanted to get started. As Marcia said, Megan and I are part of a program out of the North Carolina Business Committee for Education. We are a nonprofit housed in the North Carolina Office of the Governor. It's non-political, but we support a lot of initiatives that really focus on connecting students and educators with businesses to help fill gaps in the workforce, to really give businesses a new perspective on what these students in high school, in college can do for them, and to get kids to really see what real world applications of things that they're interested in are like. So the initiative that we're going to be talking about today is just one of the many that we cover. So as I said, yes, work-based learning is a huge part of what we support. We're really interested in getting these businesses and school systems to work together and really create a talent pipeline. And as we said, pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships are a really great tool for doing that. This is just a smattering of some of the initiatives that we support. You can see Building Bright Futures, which is ours up there on the left. But we have a number of them that we do. And I want to point out in the middle one called the Navigator. If you go to our website and you look for the Navigator, that is a great tool that we have where educators, businesses, anyone who's interested in sharing information that they have with other people can sign up to do things like be a guest speaker or have the students come to their place of business, whether it's a Smart Start or whatever it is, to help teach them about what they do and vice versa. So teachers can go on there and look up great resources, real world resources that they can connect to their students. So please take a look at that and sign up. Okay, Building Bright Futures. That's all right, it doesn't really matter. So just to introduce to you this initiative that we have, as Marcia said, this is a strategy for creating a new talent pipeline for early childhood education in North Carolina. I'm glad I didn't switch it, it's fine. As you all know, the workforce is really in crisis mode, especially since the pandemic. So many child care centers have closed down. It's really just something we have to do to get more people in the field. And we got a grant from the Department of Health and Human Services to support creating this talent pipeline through pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships. You'll hear from Valerie and Charlie later, and there are some that were already out there in North Carolina. But what we really want to do is get more people involved in them, create this wonderful structure that provides this consistent pipeline of talent coming through schools into the workforce, and to elevate it, to really show people that this is such an important job. Our grant, we have financial support, which is really important. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We can provide guidance, and we have some resources that we can provide all across the state to anyone involved. This is a pilot program. We just have 2 years. We're already almost halfway through our first year. This money comes from the American Rescue Plan. So it has a short timeline. And what we wanted to do was work with about 3 to 5 programs across the state. Look at different models. If you're rural, if you're urban, you're going to have a very different way of dealing with things. And we are shooting to try to sign up 75 pre-apprentices and 200 apprentices. I will say that we've already exceeded our original plan to just get 3 to 5 pilot programs involved. And I think that really shows how much this is needed in the state. I would say that we, in the approximately 100 counties in the state, we've already had at least half or more reach out to us and say, I really, really need this. Please get me involved. Okay, next slide.
Good morning, everyone. We have a number of goals for our program. One is to elevate this important profession. And I don't feel the need to elaborate this, as everyone in this room knows how important this profession is. But I will just say that our early childhood educators are like the glue. They're the glue. They support our workforce. They get our families to be able to work. And they support our future workforce and getting our children educated and giving them the foundation that they deserve. And as we know, the early years of a child's life are incredibly critical. So it is incredibly important that we give the respect and support to this profession that it deserves. We also want to increase the pipeline of educators. As Morgan said, we were working with a number of partners, and we were talking to CTE directors at high schools, community colleges, workforce groups, Smart Start centers, other child care centers, just to let them know that, hey, we just started in January. We're new, we're here, we want to support, we want to connect and get pre-apprentices and apprentices connected with centers and get that pipeline back to what it was pre-COVID, and to maintain that pipeline. And in order to increase the pipeline and maintain it, we have got to provide opportunities for our participants, our pre-apprentices and apprentices, to continue their education and their career growth. If you're at a table at the front, we've got a couple of handouts. We have our fact sheet and we have a pathway graphic. And what we want to do is provide our pre-apprentices and apprentices with a pathway for success. So, for example, if you're a high schooler, you're considered a pre-apprentice, and you can take your coursework and you can complete your work-based learning. And then you become eligible to receive a tuition waiver, so you can continue to the community college level. You can take your coursework there, and a lot of that can transfer to credits at a four-year university, and so on. So the sky is the limit. And then within that is just a breadth of opportunity within the early childhood field. And part of what we do with Building Bright Futures is provide enrichment opportunities and career awareness opportunities, so our participants understand that there's just so much to offer within this field. And finally, we want to eliminate the financial burden associated with advancing their education and training. I think we're going to often hear and read that students want to go back to school, they want to continue their training and their education, but they can't afford it, and mom and dad can't afford to pay for it. And we really want to eliminate that burden. So we have a number of partners that we're working with to help grade funding opportunities so that this is a non-issue.
Okay, Marcia, we are going to show you a quick video that we put together about the program, and then we'll go into some more details. So let's switch over to that. Bear with us as we hopefully can make this work.
It's no secret that early childhood educators are vital to the social, emotional, and academic development of our children. But high-quality childcare is also crucial for maintaining a strong and sustainable workforce. Without childcare, parents can't work.
Building Bright Futures is an initiative designed to grow a trained and educated early childhood workforce through pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships.
Pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships offer a supportive path for receiving a quality education while gaining practical, hands-on experience at an early child care facility.
Our mission is not only to increase the number of early childhood educators, but also to ensure our student workers are positioned for academic and career success without the risk of financial burden. Building Bright Futures can provide resources, guidance, and financial support to supplement the classwork and on-the-job hours of a pre-apprentice or apprentice.
For students, we offer stipends for training, transportation, materials, and supplies, as well as professional development and career awareness activities like conferences, field trips, and guest speakers.
Employers also benefit. We provide mentor stipends and a 50% wage match reimbursement for participants' hours. Plus, employers know they are getting passionate, dedicated employees, an opportunity to earn more stars, and a built-in network for meeting staffing needs.
A successful program model relies on a number of partners who collaborate, share experiences, and braid funding.
We work with local and state government, school districts, child care centers, colleges, our state apprenticeship program, area workforce groups, and other early childhood organizations.
Building Bright Futures is also thinking about the diversity of our state, piloting various models in rural, urban, and historically underserved communities, and working with partners to support bilingual and all-inclusive childcare centers. We're also helping to develop early childhood career tracks for individuals with disabilities.
Whether you are a current student, a childcare worker or owner, or an adult interested in pursuing a new career, Building Bright Futures can support you.
Our only requirement is that you are part of a registered early childhood education, pre-apprenticeship, or apprenticeship in North Carolina.
We can help connect you to the right partners to get started.
Let's work together to build a strong foundation for our children and future early childhood educators.
For more information, contact us or visit our website.
So that was a quick overview, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about what we actually do. So we are not a pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship program. We support them. So for all of you in the room, if you're already involved in one or interested in helping be part of one where you are, we can help provide a lot of support for you. And Charlie will talk more about it. He's the apprenticeship guy, so hold on for that. But just some examples, as we said in the video, of what we can do. As Megan said, we really want to eliminate as many costs as possible for these young people, or adults for that matter, who want to pursue this field, because we know that there are a lot of costs associated with it. And there are funding opportunities out there, but sometimes you're not eligible for them, or sometimes they don't cover everything. So we want to fill those holes and really make it an easy, supportive pathway for you. So we have funds for things like transportation, to class, to work, materials and supplies. We will match 50% of a pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship's wages. So we will reimburse that to any employer who is employing one of them. Career awareness and professional development. This is one of the things that we really want to add to the regular experience you might get through an apprenticeship or a pre-apprenticeship. We don't just want you working and taking the class. We want to give you professional opportunities. We want you to learn about what your future holds. We want you to be a part of this field in every way so that you can understand the importance of it and what your options are. For example, we are scheduling some mini conferences or field trips in Raleigh, North Carolina this summer so that our pre-apprentices and apprentices can come and meet with policymakers, major researchers in the field, maybe a legislator, so they can really see what is going on outside of a classroom. Mentors and cohorting. I've talked to a lot of you, some of you right before this session, about how important it is when you're pursuing a profession to have someone to help guide you and answer questions. And often that's your lead teacher or someone like that, and we have some money to give them stipends to say thank you. Cohorting. A lot of the people that are going to be involved in our program, they might be one person on their own in a small county. And we are going to create opportunities for all of these people across the state to come together, either virtually or in person, so that they can share their experiences and understand, again, what's outside of their one community, but also to just kind of find out what everyone else is doing and learn from each other. Feel like they're not alone in their pathway. Resources and materials. We talked a little bit about, we have some fact sheets on the table. We have recruitment flyers that we've created that people can use to help the people that they're trying to recruit understand what apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships are about in early childhood. We have a website where we're collecting links to great resources. So we'll continue to add to that. And Henry, did you have a question?
Well, are you going to have funding available for the TB test, the NCID, and the criminal background check? Because that's a barrier for a lot of people.
That is a perfect example, yes. So all these little things like that, they add up, right? And those are the types of things that we can help provide financial support for.
Okay, just to reiterate some of the benefits for students specifically, we can provide coaching through mentorships and cohorting, as Morgan mentioned. That's kind of nice for everyone needs that mentorship, especially at the high school and community college level. It's just nice to walk that path with someone. So we're going to ideally put someone with a mentor who is in a child care center. That's how we kind of see that working. And then we like to cohort them just so they can share their experiences as they progress through this pathway. Again, stipends for transportation, materials, and supplies. This can be in the form of gas cards. If a apprentice or pre-apprentice needs materials for a classroom, like baby dolls or blocks or some need that they may have that they don't currently have, we can supply stipends for that. For pre-apprentices, our high schoolers, as I mentioned before, they are eligible to receive a tuition waiver in their aligned curriculum. So if they continue along that early childhood education path at the community college level, they can have that tuition covered. At the apprentice level, as I mentioned also earlier, you can have transferable credit that can articulate to a bachelor's degree. And of course, we all know the value of hands-on experience, and we'll hear from folks later on in the presentation about how valuable that is, just to get that experience outside the classroom, outside of textbooks, is just invaluable.
and businesses. This is what most of you are going to be interested in as you're working closely with your child care centers. So we want to emphasize to businesses that get involved with pre-apprentices and apprenticeships and early childhood education, what a great, again, pipeline this is. You have access to the best of the best, right? These are going to be the best educated and best trained employees that you have. They are new, they are learning the latest, and so you're really creating this wonderful situation where you have a built-in staffing population that you know you can count on. And then most importantly, honestly, this is what everyone wants to hear. I mentioned the 50% wage match reimbursement that we can do, which is wonderful. That really helps your business, your employer, be able to put that towards something else that they really need. And I should mention too, and keep this in mind when you're doing this. Charlie here at Apprenticeship NC, they have some funds, for example, that do some wage match. We have a wage match. 50 plus 50 equals 100. That's great. So just always be looking for opportunities like that. When you have someone who's really well educated, you have potential to earn a higher star rating. And as I mentioned, you've got this ability to meet your current and future staffing needs. We know there aren't enough of you out there, so if you've got this structured environment in which you always have people coming in that you know you can count on, that's great. And then you might have current staff that would really love to get more education, but again, maybe some of these barriers financially, if you have a family, maybe you need childcare for your own children to be able to do that. And our grant can help with that.
Okay, so becoming registered with our program is pretty easy. The only future requirement that we have is to be a part of a registered pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship program in early childhood education. And we work with Charlie and the folks at Apprenticeship NC to get that registered for you. Whether it's a new program or one that just needs an update, we can work with you and Apprenticeship NC to get that going. Once that is registered, we have a simple Building Bright Futures registration form, just a quick signature, and also some guidelines for reporting and funding request. There are no economic requirements to be a part of our program. We cover any and all counties in North Carolina, no matter what tier. Tiers 1 through 3 we can cover.
So to finish up, we just wanted to remind all of you that we are one organization. We have this great money that we want to share and these resources we want to share, but obviously we're not doing it alone. It takes a lot of people to create this wonderful early childhood workforce. You can see some of these people up here will be at the table today talking to you about their role in all of this, but we have been working with Apprenticeship NC, we've been working with our Department of Public Instruction, again, with DHHS. We're talking to local school districts, we're talking to community colleges, we're talking to charter schools, child care centers, I should say any child care center. It can be a home-based child care center, a faith-based child care center. Any of those we can work with. Obviously our Smart Start people and our partnerships. We've been talking to workforce groups as well, and our local government. They have a lot that they can do to support this program. And then lastly, as I mentioned, our research and our policy organizations, hearing from them what the latest is, what do we want to make sure that we're doing to add value to the experience of these early childhood education participants.
All right. Okay, we want to thank Morgan and Megan for giving you an overview of the work that they've done in the last few months. And you might have missed it, but they only started this in January. So they've been putting this together for the last few months. And it's very exciting. And so it is my pleasure now to introduce the next partners in this group. And you've heard Charlie already mentioned a few times. Charlie is like all over the place, but he actually is a state employee of North Carolina. He serves the business and industry and educational institutions, workforce development agencies, and most of all, the residents of North Carolina in the western part of the state. He works with stakeholders to develop and implement high-quality registered apprenticeship programs in the western and the northwestern prosperity zones. There are Charlies, not quite Charlies, but there are Charlies across the state who actually can work with you around Apprenticeship NC, and I'm really pleased to introduce Charlie. I'm also, while I'm here, going to introduce Valerie, because you've heard of the pre-apprenticeship program. Valerie Williams is the Department of Public Instruction, Family and Consumer Sciences Consultant, CTE, Career and Technical Education. CTE gives students opportunities to figure out what they are passionate about and what they want to do and not do after high school. Students explore a range of career options based on what they love to do and what they do well. CTE actually helps them build confidence and leadership skills to meet their goals in and out of the classroom, which is a nice tie to the special programs that Building Bright Futures is going to have. And CTE courses are provided through 7 program areas. Early childhood education is one of the 7 program areas. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Charlie.
I'm going to come down there because I can't see the whole room. So.
Okay.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you all for being with us this morning. Thank you, Marcia, for having us, putting this all together. So as Marcia said, I'm Charlie Milling. My role, just so you know, as a regional apprenticeship consultant with Apprenticeship North Carolina is to work with business and industry to set up and create and service, after it's been registered, apprenticeship programs. And from the outset, let me say the biggest benefit for having a registered apprenticeship program from a participant side, from an apprentice side, is that all completers of any apprenticeship program, whether it's early childhood education or electrician, they receive 2 journey worker credentials, one from the U.S. Department of Labor and one from the state of North Carolina. So straight out of the gate, they'll get those credentials. So you've heard about the need, right? And we all know it's a need, it's a huge need, but the need has serious impacts. And 2 of which are very economic in a sense. One is, as one county commissioner put it, it's hard to get new business into counties, especially rural counties. We advertise to businesses, come to North Carolina, set up your manufacturing plant, set up your auto shop, whatever it may be. But if there's no quality childcare for its employees, it's really hard in the end, harder to get them to commit to come to that county, right? And then at a statewide level, a couple years ago in California, ESEBS did a great statewide study on the impact of the lack of high quality child education. And North Carolina hasn't done this study, but I bet if we did a similar study, we'd have similar results. And what the study found was that there's a $1 billion annual cost due to absenteeism from its workers. So essentially its workers can't come to work because there's no quality childhood. And so business loses out $1.8 billion. There's an $8 billion annual cost to the economy as a whole in lost earnings, revenue, and productivity. So childcare matters, not just in homes, not just in families, but it also matters economically at a state level. So let's talk about apprenticeships in the classroom. Hopefully y'all are excited about it now after hearing from Morgan and Megan. Great job. But how does it work, right? So essentially, I bet a lot of the centers are already doing pieces of this. The way a registered apprenticeship works is much like you might think in a classical sense. New teachers with little to no practical experience in a classroom are paired with mentor teachers, whether it's their lead teacher or specialist teachers or a combination of both. And they are paired with them for the on-the-job training, right? So that on-the-job training is where they learn how to be and how to do early childhood education, right? How to change a diaper in the right way, in the according to DHHS and DCD, right? Because there's many steps, right? How to do supervision, how to do language in a healthy way, right? All of that stuff. That's your on-the-job training. And as Megan and Morgan said, the more trained your teachers are, the more stars the center could possibly get, right? So it matters. Next slide. And what we've found is that in terms of apprenticeship and workforce development in general, in early childhood education, is that quality begets quality. What I mean by this is that the better the teacher, the better the instruction, and the better the early childhood education. And as a result, the better the outcomes for that child, right, and for the children. And in 2000, the Partnership to Advance Youth Apprenticeship did a study, and they found that early childhood education has a very high correlation to the quality of the on-the-job training and the quality of the end product, right? So training our new teachers matters greatly. And so when we're looking at how to do apprenticeships in early childhood education, it made the most sense to do what we call a pre-apprenticeship to apprenticeship model. And what that is, it's also known as a youth apprenticeship. It begins in high school, and it takes a high school student to first kind of career exploration and awareness and getting them a sense of what is early childhood education, on through graduating high school and into an apprenticeship where they combine on-the-job training with classroom education, usually an associate's from the local community college, and then beyond, right? So the key is starting early, right? And ideally, centers, industry actually starts the recruitment and starts to plant that seed as early as middle school. So that by the time they get to, they're 16, they're in 10th grade, 11th grade, and they're thinking about next steps, this is an option, right? We have a lot of growth in the past year or so, thanks to Valerie, thanks to all our partners. And as you can see, we have participants from west to central, headed out east. And I really do want to point out some of the diversity, like the Charlotte Bilingual School. That's very key in the work we do. So, next slide, please. So, for a registered apprenticeship program, doesn't matter what the industry is, you need three things. You have to have a set of related instruction, you have to have an on-the-job training plan, and you have to have what we call a progressive wage scale. So I'm going to do a quick deep dive into each of these. Next slide, please. I'll go back, sorry. Thanks, Marcia. For the related instruction, most centers are partnering with their local community college, and this is for the apprenticeship program after high school. Keep that in mind. For community college, and they're having the apprentice get their full associates in early childhood education. And that's important, we know, for two reasons. One, from a credentialing and licensing perspective, you have to have teachers get those associates if you want the star rating to go up, if you want everything to progress, right? And to get the funding down the road and all that stuff. So from the outset, that should be the goal. Other things can count though, right? That first set of, I think it's 16 credits, the health and safety trainings, that all can count as related instruction. If you do a diversity, equity, and inclusion workshop when they come on board, that can count as related instruction, right? So think outside the box, and you can get really creative there. The on-the-job training, like I said, is that on-the-job work that they do at the centers. Right, so they're clocked in, they're working with the lead teachers, their mentors, specialists, center managers, maybe nutritionists, whatever, and they're learning how to be and do. And so a center needs to develop what we call a competency checklist, right? And these are very technical, very specific skills, 30, however many they want to do, of how to change diapers, how to do supervision, how to keep them safe and all that. Now, for progressive wages, all that means is at minimum, there has to be a starting hourly rate and a completion rate that's higher than the starting rate. There can be incremental increases in between, and often the centers and employers will like to have an increase about every 6 months to correspond to breaks in a semester. And that helps to just keep the apprentices motivated, and they see that if I succeed and if I do each step, there's a 50-cent increase, in 6 months. But it's up to the center. Apprenticeship NC, we don't set the rates. It's all needs to work within the budgets of the centers. And those are the three components. And like I said, if you look at the centers, I bet you many of them are already doing those three things in some form, right? So all we try to do is package it, put it all together in a way that can make it a registered apprenticeship program. Because there's no cost to the center. I don't charge a fee, there's no registration fee, there's none of those kind of costs. So if you're already doing these things, might as well put it in, make it official.
Is the on-the-job training the same as the mentor? Or is that separate?
Great, the trainer for the on-the-job?
Yeah.
Yeah, great question. No, they can be different. And best practices, that's a great question. Best practices say that there really should be some differences. That it's good to have a mentor or mentors that are not the direct trainers, right? So that the apprentices have somebody to go talk to, because it's tough.
So
Right.
then the follow-up question, does the mentor have to be on site, or could the mentor be at Smart Start or the R&R or somewhere else?
Mentor can be wherever it makes the most sense.
And how much is the stipend for the mentor? Because I think right now holding on to those lead teachers and those mentor teachers is a big issue, so that if you can say, listen, we're going to give you, a stipend to do this advanced role, that's what they call it in the K-12 world. How much of it is that usually?
Usually that's determined by the center. And I'll shed some more clarity on that here in a few slides. So hang on. Next slide, please. So here's the, I think, 100 counties in North Carolina. My area is far out west, but like Marsha was saying, there are other consultants, coordinators, and I can put you in touch with the correct person that covers all these counties. So next slide, please. So I wanted to highlight a specific apprenticeship program that's already registered, that has apprentices enrolled. They're connected to the statewide pre-apprenticeship and connected to local PSUs. And that's with the Southwestern Child Development Commission. So SCD, I can't do the acronym. The commission currently partners with 4 community colleges to provide the related instruction. They have both centers they own, manage, operate from Buncombe County out west to all the way to Graham, Cherokee County. But they also have invited non-Southwestern centers to be participating employers in their program. So they partner with these 4, soon to partner with the 5th Isothermal Community College to do the associates in early childhood education. Right? And again, keep in mind, this is just a stepping stone. So they're from the beginning, when they talk to the students in high school to get them interested in this whole pathway. They say, this is your first step, and think about beyond. Think about down the road a bachelor's, and this will transfer to your bachelor's, maybe a BK license or something. They created a 32-point competency checklist that they took. They drew on NAEYC, they drew on the state licensing standards, all kinds of resources to create a really great competency checklist. And they also mandate, they require all their apprentices to create a professional portfolio, which I think is really cool. That's an extra, we don't require that, but they decided to do that. And then they have their progressive wage scale, and all this information is given up front to the apprentice when they're enrolled. So the apprentice sees all this, and that's really important because we know, or studies show, two things about high school students and as they enter the workforce. One, they want to work with companies that make a difference in their community. Wages matter, but as much, as important, it also matters to them to be with companies, organizations that make a difference, right? Number two, studies show that they, in order to succeed and stay with companies, they want to see support. They want to know, how will this company, how will this organization support me in my growth, in my professional growth? It's all here, right? That's the beauty of an apprenticeship. It's all there for that student. Next slide, please. So let's talk funding. Because they saw that there are challenges, there are barriers, as Megan and Morgan pointed out. So they got together and have gotten lots of funding to support their apprenticeship and get it going. So we worked with the Teach Foundation folks to develop an apprenticeship-specific scholarship. So Teach now offers a scholarship for individuals enrolled in registered apprenticeship programs. It's very cool. There's also, you heard the North Carolina Community College tuition waiver. So what that isn't a grant or anything. That's a state-funded, year after year budgeted program. And what it is that if a high school student does a pre-apprenticeship while in high school, and then enrolls in an apprenticeship within 120 days after their high school graduation date, and they could do it sooner, all of the tuition from all of the courses in that apprenticeship is waived. So you get their full associates tuition free. So parents love that, right? No student loans.
And Charlie,
Yes.
and when they do that, they can use the Teach Scholarship for wraparound pieces.
Yep, exactly. So they utilize that for the high school students, the high school graduates. They also applied to Dogwood Health Foundation, and they got a grant. It's now $1 million they got to fund their apprenticeship, or to help support their apprenticeship. And they're also able to take advantage of the North Carolina expansion funding. And I'll get into that in a minute. Next slide, please. So as a result, though, before I get into the funding, I would say Southwestern's program and other programs that try and do the similar things, they're professionalizing the ECU field, right? That's the key. As Jim Fouts with Southwestern said, we want the apprentices to know from the get-go that they can grow in the profession. Come do our apprenticeship, and it's a launching pad. It's not the end-all be-all. It's the first step in growing as an early childhood. And what you do in 5 years, 10 years, the sky's the limit, right? Go on, get your bachelor's, be a center manager, admin, whatever you want to do. Let me talk about the expansion funding. Do I have another slide? Okay, real quick, the expansion funding. So, in 2021, North Carolina legislature gave Apprenticeship NC $12 million to expand registered apprenticeship throughout the state. And this expansion funding applies to businesses in Tier 1 or Tier 2 counties. That's most of the counties. So that's pretty much, if you get outside the urban areas, that's where the counties, it's for those counties, okay? It's for small businesses, so businesses with 500 employees or less, which should be pretty much every and any childhood education center. And the expansion funding applies to apprentices enrolled between the ages of 16 to 25. Okay. You can enroll anybody over 16. The minimum age to be an apprentice is 16. If you're 16 and can legally work in the United States, you can be an apprentice. The expansion funding is just for that 16 to 25-year-old range. The expansion funding does three things. One, it provides $2,000 per apprentice for program support. Right? And that can be uniforms, mentorship stipends, to go back to your question, ma'am. So you could take however much of that out of $2,000. Certain insurance, employer shared insurance costs, stuff like that. It also provides $2,500 a year for up to 2 years, $5,000 maximum for tuition, books, and fees for community college classes. So if it's a non-high school student that's not taking advantage of the tuition waiver, this $5,000 would go towards that individual's education. If they are using the tuition waiver, you can still use that $5,000 to pay for books and other costs, educational costs, because the tuition waiver does not cover books. So, the third thing it does is it matches 50% of the wages for the first 2,000 on-the-job training. And so think about that. And as Morgan said, if you combine the 50% of that with the 50% of the Building Bright Futures funding for the first 2,000 OJT hours, you've got 100% wage coverage. So now is a great time to get into apprenticeships. The funding is, for us, the expansion funding has to be spent by 2026, just to let you know. So.
And it's $5,000 per apprentice?
For education aid? Education aid is $5,000 total over 2 years.
Over 2 years.
And then $2,000 for programmatic support, and then the wage match.
You know, that 5,000 or the 2,500 for each year, and what about like transportation and stuff like that? That's for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's the beauty, and we'll talk more about this, but that's the whole picture I want y'all to have in your minds, right? When you combine this with this, because Apprenticeship NC, we don't have the funding for all the other challenges, but they do.
That would be a great chart to go with these charts, so that like, in one place for like parents and providers to see this is how this could work.
They're working on it. They're working on it, that exact chart.
And I'll close with this before we move on. It's all in all pretty easy to get a registered apprenticeship going. It really is. I get the question, well, what do I have to do? How hard is it? What happens is the center, the point person for the center or the organization that's going to sponsor the program gets with myself if it's in one of my counties or my colleague in the county. They build out those three components. So they build out the on-the-job training competencies, identify the related instruction, and set the wages. Then we put all of that in our apprenticeship database, generate the actual paperwork. It gets signed, we submit it for approval, and that's it. That's all it takes. So, so thank you all, and that's my part of it.
And Charlie, can it be, can you help them
Yes.
think about, Morgan mentioned child care centers or family child care homes. It can also be Head Start.
Yes, yep, Head Start, early Head Start, if you have both, NC Pre-K. All we care about is that the apprentice is doing the on-the-job training and is getting wages. That's all we care about.
So, looking towards like implementing something like this, so you first start with applying for the apprenticeship, correct, with you. then work with the facilities?
It's more done simultaneously, I'd say. They're in on our planning meetings and stuff, so personally, I like to have kind of all the stakeholders together from the beginning, just to package it all well from the beginning.
So it's really just one single portal application?
So for the paperwork side of it, on apprenticeship in season, there isn't an application. We don't get paperwork to a sponsor until after we get the components built out. And then it's not an application, it's called a program standards document. And it's about 9 pages. It's basically like a 9-page MOU. Yes, ma'am?
So many things in life when we say it's for the centers and the homes, it's not really, because it just looks different for the home. So is there a framework that's kind of specific that'll be tailored for family child care homes? So it's an easier process for them to get through this?
Great question. It's the same framework, but the home center has the ability, that the key is that checklist I talked about. That can be customized, modified, edited as much as an organization wants, a business wants. So we can give samples, we can give, Southwestern is happy to share their competency checklist. And it can just be edited.
I'm going to move us on because we still have more speakers. There will be hopefully time at the end for a few more questions, and I don't think they're disappearing on us. So you've heard, thank you, Charlie. You've heard Charlie talk about apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship, and in order to be part of a pre-apprenticeship,
I think that's where I come
that's
in.
where you come in.
All right, so I don't know where to stand. Yeah, I can do that. And I won't talk over both of these. So I am with the Department of Public Instruction, Career and Technical Education. My name is Valerie Williams, and my background is I was a family and consumer science teacher, and I taught our early childhood education classes for 16 years. So my goal was to open students' eyes to the field of early childhood and realize that there are careers in the field and that you can do what you love and make a living out of it. So when I moved to this position at the State Department, we started having those conversations. And I really think within my first 2 months, Charlie had sent me an email saying, what do you know about apprenticeships? We're trying to start some pre-apprenticeships. What kind of programs do you think would work? And my first thought initially was early childhood, partially because it's my favorite, but don't tell my other program areas that. So we've started this process kind of from the beginning of how can we get high school students to learn about the field of education and early childhood education. So Career and Technical Education is a national group of pathways for students, and we provide those career and technical skills and knowledges technically there are currently 16 pathways, and in those 16 pathways there are multiple career tracks that we have. And so early childhood education is one of those tracks that we focus on. And so we prepare our students in CTE with hands-on learning. And so I don't know what you know about the high school early childhood education courses, and I'll get to the specific numbers in a little bit, but we embed field experience, internship, work-based learning, whatever you want to call it, the flavor of the month, into our curriculum. So at the high school level, we're not just teaching content, we're having those students go out in early childhood centers across North Carolina and practice what they're doing. They're not counted in ratio. They're not paid for this internship that they're completing in our classes. They are basically volunteers that have TB tests, that have criminal background checks, that have health screenings to help in the child care centers. And so our goal with that is to help them realize the impact that you can have working on children.
And many of them do go into the field of education and early education, which is why we kind of want to partner in the pre-apprenticeship piece. And so Family and Consumer Sciences is the one of the program areas, or is the program area that I oversee. And I had a colleague once say, because we're kind of like the best kept secret, but Family and Consumer Science is the workforce behind the workforce in all of our pathways that we look at, and especially early childhood education. The world as we know it would shut down without early childhood education. I also oversee our apparel and textile production, and I don't think anybody wants that to stop anytime soon either. So we are that workforce behind the workforce, making sure everything else runs smoothly. And we're the ones that open up opportunities for students and for children, and so that we can put them on the best, with the best foot forward. So we are an interdisciplinary field that explores those basic human needs, individual well-being, family strengths, community vitality, and their interrelationships. And so that's kind of woven into all of our program areas. And so we really focus in on setting that framework for societal success. So the one pathway that we're going to talk about today is our child development and early childhood education. And we've had these courses for decades. We have kept up with the changes when we went from the AA star rating to the star ratings. Our courses have always been aligned to what's going on in industry. And that's been our biggest strength, is we do have a good partnership with DCDEE. We have a good partnership with the community college, because our goal is to have our students introduced to the field in high school, realize that they're good at it and they can make a difference at it, and then continue on in the field, either straight out of high school or going on to get that additional training. So our child development course is our introductory course. It lays that foundation, birth through kindergarten. You may know it as parenting and child development if you've had high schoolers go through any of our programs across the state. We are currently in 73 school districts across North Carolina. There are about 110 total. We still have some city school systems around. So those count as a public school unit. And we have about 15,000 students this year in our child development class. So our goal is to open their eyes to the field of child development. Even if they don't go into the field, what can we do to set the standards for success when they have children at home, and what do they need to look for when they are looking for quality childcare? And then our second level course is Early Childhood Education 1. And this course actually has just undergone some revisions to help make the credential more accessible to students. So we have a partnership with DCDEE and the community college, where a student who successfully passes Early Childhood Education 1 can get their articulated credit for EDU 119, and by doing that, they also can get that lead teacher equivalency certificate once they have graduated high school and they're 18 and they submit those final paperwork. So we're trying to set that foundation for these students to potentially be able to go into a child care center once they graduate with that lead teacher credential, and put them on the path to keep going after that. We have 3,000 students this year in that class. I would love to say that all 3,000 are going out into the early childhood field. That's not the case, or else you guys would be inundated with workers and we wouldn't be having this discussion. But many of them don't realize the options for funding. And that's where this pre-apprenticeship piece is so great for our students, and trying to have centers that we already interned with understand that they could sign on as a pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship program and keep these students that they've worked with for a year. Some of them may have worked with these students for 2 years already. And so the center has been able to train the student already in what the center expects and their standards. And now we're building that pipeline of skills already. So we want you, statistically, what I've heard from a lot of industry is we want high school students We want them young so that we can train them the way that we want them. We don't want them coming in later when they have a bunch of bad habits that we have to fix. So my goal is to open that opportunity to them and make connections with centers across the state to say, hey, we have this program at the high school. How can we partner together so that these students can keep working with you? And I think one of the things that we haven't talked about so far yet with apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships is they don't have to have a steady number of apprentices every year. They don't have to sign on and say, I'll take 5 apprentices every year. It could be 1. It could be 1 every 3 years. So it's not like the center is signing up for a mass influx of workers that they can't support once they get a degree. And so I think that's been a barrier for a lot of centers we've had when we've tried to explain it to them.
And these students can get paid correctly?
Yes.
Because that's, a lot of students want internships, but they want them to be paid internships, and these internships or apprenticeships could be paid.
Yes, so with the early childhood education class itself, they're not paid. But once they finish this course, they could take another CTE internship, a CTE advanced studies, a CTE apprenticeship course, a CTE pre-apprenticeship course their senior year. And yeah, they could be working in the child care center. They could go in with after school care. I mean, in high school, I went every day after school and worked with the after school program. And then in the summer, worked full time in the classrooms. And so I had my foot in the door with the center. And yeah, so that part was paid, and I could have kept going with that associate's degree, with that bachelor's degree in that field. So yeah, you can hire them.
And you could use this money to do it? The apprenticeship money? No.
If you are a registered apprenticeship and yes, you could.
Yes, so we've been talking about 2 different pots of money. Ours, Building Bright Futures, and Apprenticeship NC. And Apprenticeship NC's funds do not cover pre-apprenticeships, but ours do. So yes, we can help at that level with wages outside of the hours that they're doing for the class, and all these other things that we've been talking about.
So that's big.
Yeah.
But when they're taking the class in high school, isn't the class free?
The class is
they're
free.
not paying, so that's saving them tons of money.
Yeah. It is.
And I didn't get that, and I did all of this by myself in my hometown. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where were y'all at?
Yes, yes. And we're trying, so until this year, the course consisted of 4 credits, not even counting the child development, and it was very hard for students to fit in their schedule. And so we lost a lot of students. We would have 3,000 in early childhood 1, but early childhood 2 used to be where they got the credential, and our numbers were like probably at 1,000. And so that was one of our revisions in our talks with the community college is we want this in 110 school districts so that every student who is interested has the opportunity. And that's where we've partnered with a program with a community college for what they call career and college promise courses. So I'm in 46 public school systems with my high school early childhood course, but there are lots of community colleges in the other school districts that are partnering for CCP, what they call CCP courses, where the high school student is taking EDU 119 as a high school student for free, and I think that's what you guys are going to talk about next, so I'm not going to steal their thunder, to open up those doors. So we're trying to do as much as we can to get everybody in the field and know those options. But this pre-apprenticeship option is that great step for helping them get that tuition waiver for the community college. And then I'm gonna talk really fast through my last one, but it's that relationship matters. You know, paying attention and fostering that interest in a student when they're in high school and seeing what their passions are is what I'm here for. And how can we look at what's the opportunities for a student and how can we provide those to them? So we're looking at us, the community college system. We have advisory boards. Your counties have advisory boards. Many of you don't know that your CTE director in every school system needs to know your name. And if you don't have an early childhood class at your local high school or high schools, start bugging them. Start bringing all the child care centers, give them their email. We need child care workers. We need child care workers, because they're supposed to pay attention to the needs of their community. And if you are desperately short for child care employees, they need to know that, because that drives the courses that they offer. So you have to become an advocate, and many times Smart Starts and child care centers don't know who to advocate for in the school system. You get lost against the weeds. So finding the CTE director in your county is the biggest thing to do. Yes, ma'am.
Have you had any success increasing enrollment among men and boys in the pre-apprenticeship program? I know that's a big untapped population for child care workers and can benefit children to have more male models in the field. So I'm just curious if you've found any successful ways to do that.
We have focused on it, or we've had lots of discussions on it at the classroom side with my teachers, and how do you recruit a diverse population to take our early childhood classes. We've not broached it yet with pre-apprenticeship yet. We were trying to open as many possibilities in many counties as we can to show them the options there. Some schools are really, really good and have diverse groups of male, female, and multiple ethnicities in their child care student, but many still don't, and it's due to, lots of things outside our control. But we're trying to break those barriers as much as we can.
You can see that there's a fair amount of passion that we've seen on this side of the table. Yet, we're going to have a whole lot of passion on this side of the table. So I'm really pleased to be able to introduce Whitney Harris. She is a Workforce Development Specialist. She serves as the Workforce Development Specialist with Surrey Yadkin Works and Surrey Community College. Notice the works and the community college together. Working with youth and college students in career development and economic revitalization. Elkin City Schools, Mount Airy City Schools, Surrey County Schools, and Yadkin County Schools are working together with the assistance of the Surrey Community College to support the economic vitality of the region by matching students to meet the needs in the community with the business partners. Together, they prepare students for work-based learning, assist with industry-recognized credentials, and the encouragement of enrollment in CTE, high school, and college courses. I am going to introduce Whitney, turn it to Whitney, and Whitney is going to be able to introduce Madeline and Angela, who are key to this work.
Okay, hi there. My name is Whitney Harris, and I am the Workforce Development Specialist. Thank you for that great introduction. I'll just come up here.
Okay.
And I am from Surrey and Yadkin counties. I work for Surrey Community College. Our program is an organization embedded within Surrey Community College, but partners with all of our area high school districts, our school systems. So you saw that is 4 school districts that partner together with Surrey Community College across 2 counties. It includes a number of different people on our board. We work with Surrey Community College's board. We also work with our county commissioners in both counties to fund our programs. And one of our initiatives this year is why we are here, and that is our early childhood initiative that we're working with NCBCE on, and Apprenticeship NC. So I have with me today one of our pre-apprentices. This is Madison Triplett. She is working in pre-K at West Yadkin Elementary. And I have her mentor with me as well. That is Miss Angela Mondragon. And she is helping us out by being a mentor for Maddie in the classroom. So she is her go-to person. She works kind of under her, shadows her, but also is able to develop her skills and work on her skills in the classroom in a number of different ways. And I'm not going to steal Maddie's thunder. I'm going to let her share how she does that. But then her mentor as well is there to kind of help her navigate all of that. Maddie is in our program. Our program is called Surrey Yadkin Works, and one of the things we do is we connect all 3. So we are connecting our government with our business, with our education. We're working in our high school systems to recruit students from CTE programs to help them navigate and push through and gain experience in what they're already interested in, and sometimes find out what they're not very interested in. I have some students say, I thought I wanted to do this and now I don't. And that's okay, because it's just as important to find out what you don't want to do as it is to find out what you do want to do. And we like for them to do that while they're still in high school, before they've gone to college and paid for a lot of education and they get out and they say, oh, nope, this is not for me. I really don't want to be a nurse, I want to be a teacher. How do I go about doing that? So we want to help them get these experiences while it's still early, and Apprenticeship NC helps us do that as well, because it offers that tuition-free aspect, which helps a lot of our students coming from a rural area access education that they otherwise may not be able to do. So it's really important for us to be able to have that piece. Our team is a small team. There are 2 workforce development specialists, myself and Sable White. We serve both counties. And then our program director, Crystal Folger-Hawks, is kind of our go-to. She's our leader, she is our person, and she helps us develop all of these programs that we're working on. She is our connection with Apprenticeship NC and the college, as well as additional members of our team that work specifically for Surry Community College to help us on the apprenticeship side. Sable and I work in the high schools, so we're with our what we call pre-apprentices, or otherwise known as interns, but we like that pre-apprentice term. So how is Surry-Yadkin Works different? We set up our business partners. So we kind of burn both ends of the candle, so to speak. We start with our business partners, where we talk to them about what are your needs? What are you looking for? What are your employment needs? We work with a number of different industries in our county, not just early education. We work with manufacturing, we work in healthcare. Our goal is we want to build pipelines for our community. We want our students to know what's available to them right in their backyard, so if they don't want to go away to have to work, they don't have to. We have these opportunities here. Because one of the things that we get back from high school students is, I didn't know this was available, and we don't want to hear that. We want them to know what they have available to them. So we start on the business side and ask them, what are you looking for? What do you need? And then we go with our students and we recruit students for those positions, but we go to them through the CTE courses at the high schools and say, you really like working with your hands. I can tell that you like doing that. You're in construction. You really like this. You're in welding classes at the college. You're taking those career and college promise classes that have helped you develop your skills. Would you like to experience a welding internship or pre-apprenticeship with one of our local manufacturers? And we're able to sign them on, and they work through our program as the sponsor for that pre-apprenticeship, and they're able to gain that work-based learning experience to help them get their foot in the door with their employer, but also gain experience to let them know before they graduate high school, is this really what they want to do? And that's similar to what we've done with Maddie, is Maddie had already taken EDU 119 through college, so she had that experience. She had a desire to work in early childhood, and so we said, Maddie, would you like some work-based learning experience? Would you like an internship or pre-apprenticeship in a pre-K setting? That is what she had said she was interested in. She said, absolutely. So we brought Madison on board, and she's able to work with one of our local elementary schools in pre-K to gain a lot of experience that otherwise she may not have gotten. Now, had she taken the classes, like Valerie said, at the high school level, at her local high school, that first internship that's embedded into that coursework would not have been paid. But when they come through Surry-Yadkin Works, they're paid. So we work with paid internships, paid pre-apprenticeships in our community. Most of our facilities pay an hourly rate. And in addition to that, our program also pays a $1,000 stipend for our students to come on board with us as well for this semester. Helps offset transportation costs, and it helps provide some incentive. And we also require them to participate in a number of different trainings with us that you'll see here. Public speaking, Microsoft, DISC Behavioral, Introduction to Lean Manufacturing, Personal Finance, OSHA 10, and Employability Skills. So what we did is our businesses said, hey, we can work with students and tell them how to manage a classroom. We can help them with those skills. You'll gain those on the job. What I can't help them with is workplace personality, how to work with people that you may not get along with all the time, or how to understand the difference between it's not personal, it's personality, and work through that. How to have conflict resolution, how to send a professional email, how to kind of cut out waste of your everyday functioning and schedule. We can't teach them that. Can you work with them on that? So that's where that training comes from, and that's where part of that stipend comes from too, is we want them to have something to incentivize to come to those trainings with us as well. And they get all of those credentials when they're done. And then we have a minimum of 12 hours a week for our long-term internships. Now, because some of our students are taking, in this initiative, taking EDU 119, which is a pretty hefty course, it takes a lot. We only require 6 hours for our pre-apprentices in early childhood. to meet that coursework requirement at the end of the year. But I think Maddie's actually doing several more, so she's almost part-time. Our students, though, are learning and earning, so they're getting a dual credit. They're getting high school honors credit. She's got ED 119 through the college, so has a college credit and is, of course, transferable. They have a stipend that I spoke about and an hourly rate, a travel stipend that comes out to the $1,000. There's zero cost for textbook fees for our students, and then, of course, they get the trainings. And then Madison here has got some photos, but she is, one of the things that we do with our program that is really cool is, I'm not a mentor, I'm a workforce development specialist, but I spend a lot of time with my students. I see them at work, I come out and talk with them, I come out and talk with their mentors. We love to take photographs and share them on our social media because we want our community to know what we're doing. Because what we found is that the more people know what we're doing, the more buy-in that we have. And that's one of the things that we're working on with our child care facilities is, look at these cool things that we're doing. And a lot of our child care facilities come to us and say, what do we have to do? What do we want? What do we want in? So, and that's our goal, is we're trying to grow that apprenticeship program and pre-apprenticeship program. Right now, our business partners are Yadkin County Schools and Surry County Schools and their pre-K programs. I also have several interns or pre-apprentices this semester that are working in 1st and 2nd grade, kindergarten, so still in that those early grades. Mount Pilot Enrichment Center in Pilot Mountain and Central Methodist Child Care in Mount Airy. And we're gaining more every day. We have lots of interest. We're just building the program as well, so we're trying to recruit students to go into those facilities and work. But these are great facilities that we've partnered with. And Surry Ag & Works is for all students and all businesses. So we don't turn away our students because they may not have a great grade in math. If they have a terrible grade in math, but they have got excellent grades in EDU 119, they may make an excellent early child care worker. We don't turn them away because they don't have a good grade in a class. So we have students that have 4.0s and then I have students that don't. And that's okay because they're all great pre-apprentices. They all have excellent experiences over the semester, and we have returning students. So we want everyone to know that our program is for all businesses and all students, but today we're focusing on early child care, and that is where I'm gonna let Maddie share a little bit about her experience. Oh, I'll leave it there.
The microphone's not gonna work very well.
Okay, great.
Okay, hello, my name's Maddie. Winnie introduced me. I'm interning at a school called West Jack Elementary School, and it has been life-changing, to say the least. I have learned how to manage my time, interact with my coworkers, and many other skills that she also hit on that we do. Like, we do private trainings. These are required. I do these. We have roughly once a month. We do trainings. They basically teach us how to handle situations, how to have good attitudes towards our mentors and our people we're working with, productivity, communication, working together with your coworkers, and basically just preparing us for, real life experiences for when I get to the workforce. My internship has shown me real teaching skills. It's been a great experience. I've learned so many things, whether it is handling my mentor, handling kids, how to socialize with them, and the hands-on activities in the classroom have just been a big thing because I've been able to help the kids, and that's been tremendous. Throughout this experience, I feel like I have grown on so many different levels. 2 months ago, probably couldn't have spoken in front of this many people. Although I had nothing to And I just want to say thank you to public speaking for that. And overall, I just want to thank Surry Ag & Works for this experience. It has financially helped me in so many different ways. I can pay for college. My first 2 years are paid for, as Ladies mentioned. It's been a great experience. Whitney has been my backbone for sure. And Chris Mondragon, I don't know how I can thank them anymore. And my goals for right now, I am currently at West Jack Elementary School. In the mornings, I usually arrive at 7:30 and I'm there till 12:30. My goals have just been being able to read the kids' books. Something that small has been, you can imagine, learning how to do that. Making it fun for them, that's one of my biggest things that I've been working on. Learning how to talk to them, working on things. When they're doing something wrong, how can I redirect them and show them how to do it correctly? So I'm learning, I'm growing, and that's all.
Everybody want a Maddie?
Yeah.
We
please. Okay, I'm gonna come up here. Okay, since I know we're just finishing up, but, and we threw a lot of information at you, but these are some of the things we want you to walk away with. As we said, this is an urgent time. This is a big need. So now is the time to think about pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships. And as we all talked about, we have this money now. And one of the things that's gonna make it so important is we get this going now. It's going to set an example for the rest of the state, for the rest of the country, to show them how important this is. Early exposure, we've talked about that. Getting in early not only saves you money and time, but gets people really interested and dedicated in this field. Education about the career pathways. Yeah, we talked about that. So having the two components, the pre-apprenticeship and the apprenticeship, and having this great structured environment so that they can learn about not just the class they're taking today, but all the options for them going forward. And as Charlie said, there were a lot of questions about this apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship process. It's really simple. It's really low commitment, if that's fair to say. You know, you're not signing a contract for the rest of your life. You're not signing a contract for how many people you have to be involved with every year. It's flexible. You can start small. You can grow it. You can revise it. You could maybe just be part of an apprenticeship, just be part of a pre-apprenticeship, and the people here at the table can help you find other partners to work with so that you can have a nice pathway for your people. And then with that note, again, look at all your resources. We talked about a lot of funding opportunities up here. We have state and federal money. You might have local family foundations, local companies who really want to support this. So we can also help you find those, but look outside of just, you know, what's right in front of you. And then last, we, as Building Bright Futures, we want to be a connection for you. So if you're thinking about this, but you're not really sure who to talk to, it doesn't really matter what your role in the apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship is. Give us a call, send us an email, and we can help connect you to the right people and answer your questions about what will work for you. We are a pilot program. We want to get started doing this lots of different ways across the state. So, you know, everybody's path is going to be different. Like I said, whether you're a big, you know, urban area, you're a rural area with maybe just one person right now who's interested, we can work with all of you. Anybody else? I think that's it. But we had to rush here at the end. But I want to thank everyone for coming and learning about what we're getting started here. Oh, question?
Yeah. Can I ask one question?
Sure.
So I'm just curious, so who are you working with at NCDEE? And I ask that only because I am an appointed child care commissioner, served on the North Carolina Child Care Commission, and this is the first time I've heard of that.
Okay.
And I do think we need to hear more of that.
That's a very good question. We're working with Ariel Ford. This is, as we said, this is a grant that we just got in the last couple of months. And so communication is a big part of what we're doing in these first few months, is trying to get the word out there about this. As I said, initially we were going to try to work with 3 to 5 counties just to sort of start supporting them and really get a lot of different experiences to the table to see how this could work going forward. As I said, we've just been getting so much good response that we've just been talking to anyone who contacts us, and we're going to just keep doing that.
We can bring it to the county commission.
I was going to try to ignore it.
Yes.
I'm not all
Talk to Ariel about
I
having this presented at the commission meeting.
Is this your contact information?
Pardon?
Your contact information?
Yes, it is on the fact sheets, and also we put our business cards on the table at the back so you can grab those as you go out, and that's got our emails on it and our website address.
And will this presentation be on the website?
It might not be on the website, but if you sign up with your email, I'll make sure you get it. We'll figure that out, but yes, we'll make sure everybody has access to it.
And make sure that you remember that in the back of the room, there's places for you to sign your name, your email address, and your county, community, so that we can make sure that you get all the information that comes from Morgan.
Yes.
And I think that there's also an evaluation form for Smart Start, and we really thank you for coming as people are leaving. Thank you so much.